Okay, I'm taking a super large shirt for me. It's a 4XL. And you watched me bleach dye this heart. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a swag neck with a looser sleeve that we're going to gather up and connect, and that should sit, so this section when put on the body should sit right in the slope of the shoulders when I'm done. And then we're going to do the upper part first, and then we'll work on getting the sides where they fit on the upper body perfectly, which we'll switch to a mold then. Okay, what you want to do first is you want to cut the ends off of your sleeves, the seamed ends. Then you'll want to cut that bottom seam that's on the bottom of the sleeve off. You can just kind of feel around it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Cut it. And you're going to do the same thing on the other side. Make sure you keep those seamed ends because you can use them to connect your sides. Okay, now that we've done that, I'm going to fold this in half. As you can see, I'm going to fold that in half. Make sure you line it up real well. Make sure you line these seams up real well. And then you want to make sure it's nice and smooth. And the smooth you're wanting is nice and smooth through here. We're going to cut at a slight angle, and you want to be just below that so that you have the nicest area of swag. So you want to go about 1 inch over. If they're lined up, then you want to cut from that inch over to just under the neck seam. Next, you want to open it back up, and I would suggest stretching it, because by stretching it you'll allow it more swag when you get to it. Now, I'm going to stretch my sleeves as well. And this will allow more of a look. Now, what I think might work better for me even yet is going in and cutting at least halfway up to allow, so that when you gather it all up, it'll have a nice little extra hanging section. So I'm going to cut it halfway up the seam, like that. On both sides. Okay. At this point, what you want to do is take the end of your sleeve and gather up to that inch section you cut. And what you want to do is take your extra you're going to wrap it around, and I'm going to tie a bow at the top. Okay. Next, you want to do the same thing on the other side. Take the end, you want to follow that seam and start gathering it up like that. Take your other sleeve end, wrap it around, and tie a bow. Now, while the neck area looks huge, when you put it on a mannequin, it should have a swag neck. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to switch angles and go to a swag neck. Okay, I've put this on my mannequin. And I've put a pin at the tops to keep it on the shoulders. The great thing about just doing a actual bow tie there is that you could attach this to your bra and then it won't move at all to keep that swag. I've also gone in and cut off the edging like I did on the sleeves. I cut off the edging on the bottom so that I can use the bottom as my lacing for the lace up the sides. And so what I've done is, you see the seam there? I've gone in and cut that seam section off so that I have a separate section that doesn't have a seam on it, and I can stretch it, and it gives me a super long string. Because you can take this and you can stretch it. And when you stretch it, you give yourself a super long string to thread around the sides to do the corseting area, which is what I'm going to call it. So what we want to do is, you want to take your sides and you want to try to do this as evenly as possible. Find the very bottom edges and then pull and find the waist of your mold. And there's my waist. So what I want to do is take a pin and pin it up the side like that. And you don't want it super tight because you're going for a nice relaxed look. That should be loose but give a hint of a really nice figure, and this should be more like a nice accent. So what you want to do after you do that is pin it up the side. And because this is an extra large, I'm going to have plenty of space, and so you are going to include part of this. You're going to see a edging out here, which is fine, so that when you lace it, it'll hide itself. You want to do the same thing on the other side. Pin it up. So there's that. It's even. Now what you want to do, now that you've got that even, is you'll want to take a washable marker of sorts and you'll want to make a dot on either side all the way down. And I'll show you how to do that. So we're going to go ahead and turn this sideways. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to take this and we want to go a little further than the pin, and the reason being is you're not going to want the actual seaming to touch itself or you lose the whole lace up. So what you want to do is go slightly before it, about an inch before it, and make a dot. And you'll want to go down and make another dot. About 2 inches down, make another dot, and about 2 inches down, make another dot, and making sure that it's staying about an inch away from the actual pins. 2 inches down, another dot, 2 inches down, another dot. And we should have, I should have, at least 5 dots. Okay. Now, to line them up, you want to put your finger over it and then put a dot there. And take that, put a dot there, and do that all the way down on both sides. Okay, at this point, you're going to start cutting your holes right on the dots. And for the first one, you're going to just cut a hole directly on the dot. On the ones below that top one, you're going to cut one slightly above and one slightly below the dots. And you should have about a 1/2 inch between those holes. And as you can see, a little above and a little below the dot. Do the same thing, a little above and a little below the dot. And you want to do that all the way down. And this allows easier lacing. And if you stretch that out, you can see easily what I'm doing. So the first dot is straight cut on it, and then the others are a little above and a little below. So we're going to start lacing. And this is where you can see it's easy to just send it through the top holes. And then you're going to start working it from the top to the bottom. So send the top of the string through the top hole and the bottom hole and pull through. Take the other side, send the string through the top hole and the bottom hole and pull through. And you're going to do this all the way down. To the bottom. And when you start to tighten it, you see the lace up. And keep in mind, you're going to do this exact same process on the other side. And after you do that, and you tie a bow at the bottom, you are done. So tie a bow at the bottom, and you're done. And this is what it should look like.